Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Peter's Perspective, Open-mindedness. Hope you enjoy it. When I think about open-mindedness, I think about how people become closed-minded. I think people's opinions, ideas, and values are part of who they are. They come to you through your experiences, your influences, and some of those are hard fought. Some of those take effort to get to a place where you really believe in something because you've worked hard to understand it, or you've worked hard to achieve something. I wanted to talk about your perspective on open-mindedness, and I guess starting with, do you consider yourself an open-minded person? What's an example of that?
I think I'll call myself open-minded to the idea of open-mindedness, because open-mindedness is something that is hard to practice, because it goes against our very, frankly, I think our nature. This is something that I would argue, because our brains are structured to process information based on experience and based on what we know and what we see. And changing your perspective on something, speaking of perspective again, is a difficult thing to do. I think people like to say that they're open-minded, but as I said about me, I think that they're more, depending on how they practice it, open to the idea of being open-minded.
Right.
You know? It kind of feeds into itself a little bit of a ways, because I think that you can get closed-minded about being open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I have to consider all of these perspectives, and you only pick up on some or something like this, or you lean too heavily on your own, or what have you. But I think it's difficult sometimes.
Yeah. And I think right now the world is a very divided place. For anybody, they think they're in the right camp. And I like to consider myself open-minded, but for the other camp, I tend to be a little bit closed-minded. It's important to put a caveat on open-mindedness. Open-mindedness does not mean you're accepting of all ideas.
Absolutely.
It means you're open to thinking about those ideas, and you're open to talking about those ideas. So, I think some people think, I'm not open-minded because I reject all of these ideas. But if you've considered those ideas and then rejected them, you're not closed-minded. That just means you've made a decision. And if you stay open-minded, that's how people with vastly differing ideas can have a friendly debate or discussion about them, because they're both being open-minded. You might not agree with the person, but if you have a conversation beginning with being open to what they're saying, then the other person will feel respect. The other person will feel like you're not just arguing with them. So thinking about that idea, thinking about your ideas, and maybe interacting with people who don't have those ideas, how do you go about that? How do you think about being open-minded, maybe in the face of somebody who's very different from you?
I think the best way to approach those kinds of conversations is to recognize the overall goal, what you're trying to achieve with this conversation. Honestly, I think that a discussion and an argument have the same motivations, just different emotions.
Yeah.
Discussions maybe have a bit more open-mindedness than arguments do, but overall the goal is the same. It's to share your perspective based on what this person is doing, or something that sparked you to come talk to them, and to see if they'd be willing to take that on as an idea. One example is I like to work out, you know what I mean? I think that I have decent form. I'll see somebody doing an exercise, and I go up to them and I'm gonna say, hey, I noticed something about your form. Take it or leave it. You want to hear a tip? That's, I think, one way to get them to be more open-minded to that tip and more receptive, perhaps, rather than coming up to them and being like, hey, I think you're doing this wrong. Can I tell you why? Same goal, different presentation, different emotions, different reception, hopefully.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I want to thank you for having this conversation. If you are interested, the entire conversation is on the Blocks of Life YouTube channel, so go check that out, and thanks for watching.